Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show built to distill, well, massive piles of source material into the essential, unforgettable, and immediately useful nuggets of knowledge. Today, we are taking on the biological machine that, it really defines life itself, the human heart.
It does.
Our mission is to walk you through the anatomy and the function of this powerhouse, using our sources as the definitive map for a complete understanding.
Let's do it.
And what an unbelievable machine it is. We often talk about its scale, but it just bears repeating. The average heart beats roughly 100,000 times a day.
A day, yeah.
Pushing over 1.5 million gallons of blood every single year. But the fact that truly blows me away, according to the research, is its incredible range.
Oh, absolutely.
This organ can operate at a resting output of, maybe 5 liters per minute? And then it ramp up instantly to 30 liters per minute if you suddenly decide to, run a mile.
And that ability to vary its output so dramatically is, well, it's the heart's single most critical function. The entire purpose of the cardiovascular system, the continuous exchange of gases, nutrients, and waste. It all relies entirely on the heart-maintaining motion.
Constant motion.
Without constant blood movement, homeostasis fails, and cells, they start to die almost immediately.
So structurally, what are we looking at?
We're looking at a highly optimized muscular pump about the size of your clenched fist sitting right in the center of your chest. It's organized into 4 chambers.
Right.
You have the thinner-walled collecting areas, the right and left atria, and then the really powerful discharging areas, the right and left ventricles.
And those chambers are divided functionally into 2 separate...
Exactly, 2 distinct circuits.
linked plumbing systems. So the right side of the heart manages the short trip, what we call the pulmonary circuit.
That's the low-pressure circuit. Its job is just efficient gas exchange. It takes that carbon dioxide-rich blood from the right ventricle, sends it to the lungs, and then returns oxygen-rich blood to the left side of the heart. The distance is short, and, the capillaries in the lungs are delicate, so the system runs soft.
Which contrasts really sharply with the systemic circuit, which is driven by the left side.
That's the big one.
This is the long haul.
Yeah.
It takes that oxygen-rich blood and has to propel it out to every single cell in the rest of the body, from your fingertips to your toes.
Wow.
Before collecting all the spent blood and bringing it back to the right atrium to restart the whole loop.
Yeah.
Before we dig into the layers, let's just make sure the plumbing terminology is clear. Arteries always move blood away from the heart.
Always away. Veins move blood to the heart.
And the microscopic thin-walled capillaries are the critical spots, the true exchange vessels where the transfer of gases and nutrients actually happens.
Exactly. Now let's build this thing from the outside in. We find the heart centrally located near the anterior chest wall, nested in what's called the mediastinum.
Okay, the mediastinum.
Right between the lungs and just behind your sternum.
To visualize the structural support, the source uses this fantastic analogy. Imagine pushing your fist toward the center of a big deflated balloon. Your fist is the heart, and the wall of that balloon is the pericardium, the protective sac that surrounds it.
And that pericardium has 2 structural parts that work together. First, you have the tough outer anchor, the fibrous pericardium.
Right.
This basically keeps the heart locked in position within the mediastinum. Then inside that, we have the delicate serous pericardium.
And that has 2 sheets.
2 sheets, the outer parietal wall, and then the layer that's kind of plastered directly onto the heart muscle itself, which we also call the visceral pericardium or the epicardium.
And the space between those 2 serous layers is tiny, the pericardial cavity. And it contains only about 10 to 20 milliliters of pericardial fluid.
Just a thin film.
But it's essential. It's a lubricant that eliminates almost all friction as the heart contracts, 100,000 times a day.
And that thin space is so clinically critical. If the pericardium gets inflamed or infected, a condition like pericarditis fluid can accumulate there really fast. And this rapid abnormal filling is called cardiac tamponade. It essentially squeezes the heart, restricts its expansion, and can dramatically drop its output. It's a huge medical emergency.
Okay, so moving past that protective outer coat, let's look at the wall itself. 3 layers.
3 layers. You have the outer epicardium we just mentioned, the thin inner lining called the endocardium.
Which is continuous with the blood vessels.
Correct. And then the massive, thick workhorse in the middle, the myocardium.
The muscle.
The myocardium is where all the magic happens, specifically within the cardiac muscle cells or cardiocytes. They're relatively small, but functionally, They're machines built for marathon work.
And they're totally dependent on aerobic respiration.
Almost entirely. That's why their cellular fluid is just packed with hundreds of mitochondria and stored fuel reserves like glycogen and lipids.
And this detail is so key to understanding the heart's vulnerability. That massive dependence on constant oxygen means the heart, unlike skeletal muscles, can't run on fumes.
No oxygen debt here.
Exactly. If its blood supply is cut, it starves in minutes. That's why blood flow is it's non-negotiable.
And the other unique architectural feature are these specialized cell connections called intercalated discs.
Okay.
These discs contain mechanical connections for strength, things like desmosomes, but most importantly, they have gap junctions.
The gap junctions are the electrical bridges. They create a direct channel, allowing the signal for contraction to jump seamlessly from one cell to the next. Almost like the cells were all one piece.
Precisely. This connectivity means cardiac muscle operates as a functional syncytium. It works like a single enormous muscle cell. Once the impulse starts, the entire region just contracts together synchronously.
Right. And underpinning this whole system is the fibrous skeleton, a dense fibroelastic connective tissue network. This skeleton does essential structural work like stabilizing the valves and anchoring the cells, but its most ingenious function is electrical.
Absolutely. The fibrous skeleton acts as a mandatory electrical firewall. It physically isolates the atrial muscle cells from the ventricular muscle cells.
So the signal can't just leak through.
It must take the controlled route through the conducting system. This separation is proof that in cardiac function, timing and electrical control are just as vital as muscle power.
So if we quickly orient ourselves, the heart is slightly rotated to the left. The broad superior portion where all the major vessels enter and exit is the base.
Right, that's a top.
And the inferior, rounded tip which points left is the apex. Externally, we can see the deep groove called the coronary sulcus separating the atria from the ventricles, and the two interventricular sulci separating the right and left ventricles.
Okay, so let's trace the blood flow, starting with the systemic return into the right atrium. Deoxygenated blood returns here from three major sources.
3.
The superior vena cava, which drains everything above the diaphragm, the inferior vena cava draining below, and the coronary sinus,
which returns blood from the heart wall itself.
Exactly.
Inside the right atrium, we see these rough muscular ridges, the pectinate muscles. But it's interesting that the right atrium is also where we see the fossa ovalis.
Yeah, that little dimple.
It's a reminder that the heart had a completely different job when we were developing, allowing blood to bypass the lungs entirely.
From the right atrium, blood passes through the three-cusped right AV valve, or tricuspid valve, into the right ventricle.
Okay.
The interior here is rough, with muscular folds called the trabeculae carneae. And here we see those critical attachments. The cone-shaped papillary muscles connected to the valve cusps by tough strands.
The chordae tendineae, the heartstrings.
That's them.
The right ventricle has a really unique structure, the moderator band.
Ah, yes.
This is a specialized strip of muscle that ensures the signal reaches the papillary muscles first. It's a beautifully engineered sequence. The valve tightening mechanism activates just before the main squeeze begins.
It's perfect timing.
Blood then exits the right ventricle through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary trunk for that short trip to the lungs.
Once it's oxygenated, blood returns via the four pulmonary veins and enters the left atrium. From there, it flows through the left AV valve.
Also known as the mitral or bicuspid valve.
Right, because it only has two cusps. And it flows into the most powerful chamber of the heart, the left ventricle.
This chamber is... you can't miss it. It has the massively thickest wall.
By far.
Blood leaves here through the aortic valve and shoots into the ascending aorta to begin the systemic circuit.
And that thickness difference is everything. The right ventricle only needs enough force to sort of roll the blood to the lungs running at low pressure.
Sure.
The left ventricle, however, has to generate 6 to 7 times more force. It contracts by decreasing its length and diameter at the same time, like squeezing and rolling up the end of a toothpaste tube.
Wow.
That monumental squeeze is what's necessary to push blood to all the tissues in the entire systemic circuit.
And that high pressure is why the valve system needs such careful management. During that contraction phase, the chordae tendineae and papillary muscles for the AV valves, they immediately become tense. This tensing isn't for opening the valve, it's for prevention. It ensures the cusps don't swing backward or regurgitate into the atria from that immense pressure.
Now contrast that with the two semilunar valves, the aortic and pulmonary. They're much simpler.
No cords or muscles?
None. They have 3 half-moon-shaped cusps. And they rely purely on the symmetry of those cusps and the pressure gradient to just snap shut when they need to.
And clinically, if those valves fail, like in mitral valve prolapse, MVP, where the cusps don't close neatly.
You get backflow.
Right. And that backward flow causes turbulent blood movement. That turbulence is what a physician hears as a distinctive rushing or gurgling heart murmur.
Given the muscle's high workload and its intense oxygen demand, the heart muscle needs its own dedicated blood supply. We call that the coronary circulation.
Okay.
And the main arteries originate right at the high-pressure zone of the aortic sinus, right at the base of the aorta.
We have the right coronary artery, RCA, which generally supplies the right heart and, crucially, parts of the conducting system. Its major branches are the right marginal branch and the posterior interventricular branch.
Then there's the larger left coronary artery, LCA, which supplies most of that massive left ventricle. Its main branches are the circumflex branch and the anterior interventricular branch.
Which is so important that clinicians often call it the left anterior descending artery, or the LAD.
The LAD, yes.
And the LAD is critical because if that particular branch gets blocked, it shuts down the blood supply to the biggest, hardest working part of the heart ending, that chilling nickname, the widowmaker.
It is. Fortunately, the system does have some built-in redundancy through anastomosis interconnections between arterial branches.
Okay.
These connections help maintain blood flow even if one small vessel is temporarily under high pressure. Once used, the blood returns via veins like the great cardiac vein and middle cardiac vein,
Which drain into the coronary sinus, and that empties back into the right atrium.
the whole loop again.
But that redundancy isn't foolproof. The primary issue is coronary artery disease, CAD, often caused by plaque buildup, leading to poor supply or ischemia. If this restriction causes temporary chest pain only when the heart works harder, that's angina pectoris.
But the really serious problem is when circulation is completely blocked. That leads to cell death and an infarct, and that is a myocardial infarction, MI, or a heart attack.
Our sources highlight how we treat this. For blockages, treatments range from minimally invasive procedures like balloon angioplasty, followed by putting in metal stents to hold the artery open, to the much more serious coronary artery bypass, graft CABG surgery.
The bypass, yeah, where vessels are harvested from elsewhere to route blood flow around the most severely blocked arteries.
Okay, let's shift to the timing. The heart possesses automaticity or autorhythmicity.
It's a great word.
It means it contracts entirely on its own without any instructions from the brain.
That's right. And this is coordinated by two types of specialized cells: the nodal cells, which set the rate, and the conducting fibers, which distribute the stimulus.
The process starts at the true pacemaker, the sinoatrial SA node in the right atrial wall. It has an inherent rate of, 80 to 100 beats per minute?
That's its natural rhythm. The impulse spreads quickly through the atria via internodal pathways until it hits the atrioventricular AV node.
And the AV node is the crucial timekeeper. And it's a brilliant piece of engineering. It introduces a mandatory delay.
A pause, yeah, of about 100 milliseconds before sending the signal onward.
Wait, so the impulse hits the AV node and it just stops for 100 milliseconds?
Yeah.
How does the heart physically manufacture that perfect mandatory pause?
Well, it's the difference in the conductivity speed within the nodal cells themselves. That delay is absolutely essential because it ensures the atria have completely finished their contraction. Fully topping off the ventricles before that huge ventricular contraction even begins. Without that pause, the pump would be highly inefficient.
Once that perfect pause is complete, the signal speeds down the AV bundle, or the bundle of his, into the right and left bundle branches. And then that moderator band we discussed ensures the right ventricular papillary muscles tighten first.
And the final step is the rapid, widespread distribution of the impulse throughout the ventricular muscle via the Purkinje fibers. That's what triggers that powerful synchronous contraction we see as a heartbeat.
And this entire electrical cycle is what drives the cardiac cycle,
Right.
which alternates precisely between systole
Contraction and injection.
and diastole.
Relaxation and filling.
Right.
Now, while the SA node sets that intrinsic rhythm near 100 beats per minute, our autonomic nervous system, the ANS, serves as the heart's internal cruise control.
Usually slowing it down.
Exactly, usually slowing it down to the resting rate of 70 to 80 beats per minute. That slowing effect comes from the parasympathetic system via the vagus nerve.
And conversely, the sympathetic system steps on the gas, releasing norepinephrine to increase both the rate and the force of contraction.
And these commands are managed in the medulla oblongata, which has the cardioacceleratory center for sympathetic.
And the cardioinhibitory center for parasympathetic.
Right, and they're constantly adjusting performance based on feedback from receptors monitoring things like blood pressure and gas concentrations.
When this highly coordinated system goes wrong, we get arrhythmias. Too slow is bradycardia, under 50 beats per minute. Too fast is tachycardia, over 100. But the most dangerous are the lethal ventricular rhythms, like that uncoordinated twitching known as ventricular fibrillation, VF, which is cardiac arrest.
For these severe rate and rhythm issues, modern medicine relies on technology like artificial pacemakers to set the proper timing.
Right.
Or AICDs, automatic implantable cardioverter defibrillators, which continuously monitor the rhythm and are ready to deliver a corrective shock if a lethal rhythm is ever detected.
So to sum up what we've discovered here, the heart is a machine that's defined by, really, 3 pillars of precision.
I like that.
Its function relies on the exact sequence dictated by the conducting system.
The synchronous nature of the cardiac muscle, thanks to those intercalated discs, and the critical pressure differences maintained by the left ventricle's thick, powerful wall.
And I want to circle back one last time to the structure that governs that timing. The fibrous skeleton. It's not just strong mechanical support for the muscle and valves. It is that mandatory electrical firewall.
The insulator.
Exactly. So for you listening, consider how engineers, when designing future cardiac interventions or maybe even artificial hearts, must respect that exact point of physical and electrical separation. Why is isolating the atria from the ventricles just as important as the strength of the muscle itself for an efficient, coordinated life?
That's a great question to end on.
That's something to mull over. Thank you for sharing your source material and letting us take this deep dive into the magnificent anatomy of the heart. We'll catch you on the next one.